Support for the Pantelis podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle, the Performance Package, and they sent us a couple of them. Me and Poseidon have used it. It's great. Join over 4 million people worldwide that trust Manscaped to not cut themselves when they're shaving their balls. If you use the promo code Pantelis, you get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. That code is Pantelis, manscaped.com. And in case you guys were unaware, Manscaped just dropped the Lawnmower 4.0. That's what Poseidon's using right now to trim those hedges. Not only is it awesome, but it's also waterproof. So he's using that in the shower instead of causing a mess around the bathroom floor. They're amazing. Honestly, I think as far as sponsors are concerned, they've been the most generous with us. So support Manscaped since they're supporting this show. Manscaped.com. Use the promo code Pantelis. Get yourself 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Hey guys, if you're looking for a way to support us, we're on Patreon. Patreon.com/Pantelis. Get yourself some exclusive content. You get yourself podcasts early. It's a fun time. Meet a whole new community that you can then connect with on Discord. Join that stuff. Like, subscribe, share, and don't forget, leave a star rating. If you're listening to this on audio, Spotify, Apple Music, just leave a star rating. It goes a long way. Thank you, guys.
I'll take you for a ride on the devil's ship. I'll take you for a ride where you sink or swim. Now come with me and let this story begin.
Viva, welcome back.
Back from the capital of Canada, and it's been an amazing 2 days that I spent out there this week.
Look, I brought you here to talk about the convoy. I have one big question. Why do you hate the Jews?
It is enraging. I'll tell you who I hate, but for good reason. Politicians, Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, I forget the other individual now who they are repeating the same lies over and over again, like we've seen American politicians in the States do. There was a racist Confederate Nazi flag there. Yeah. I
thought you were holding it.
Dude, I was looking for the guy, because if the guy was there, I would have asked him some questions. I spent Monday 6.5 hours live streaming straight from all ends of the convoy, looking for anything bad, looking critically for anything bad. I spent all day there yesterday. Not only did I asked the cops, have you seen anything bad? Have you seen any acts of violence? The cops themselves said no. Respectful protesters, and the cops, it might be projection, gave me the impression they supported the cause. But you got these two images that all of these lying politicians are repeating, re-amplifying. That one image of a guy, the only guy there, with a full-on face mask, ski mask, wearing sunglasses, carrying a freshly pressed, brand new Confederate flag at a Canadian protest. Yeah. And the media is like, well, this protest is a bunch of Nazis. You have to be maliciously dishonest to do that. And I'm at my wit's end with it. And that's why I said, I'm going down. I'm going to see this myself. And if I see anything bad, it's live streaming.
You're going to call it out. You can't cut it. Yeah.
I can't cut it. People will see it in real time. Nothing but love, peace, happiness, a lot of noise, a lot of people smoking weed. Yeah. If you find flags that say F, Maple Leaf, CK, Trudeau offensive, okay, fine. That's the worst I saw.
Yeah, those I see everywhere. I told you this before the show. The only people that I'm concerned about now are the people that live in Ottawa downtown, because I'm all for you making noise. You got to get your voice heard. The politicians, though, they're not there at night. So the only people eating it hard are citizens who I would assume also ate it hard for 2 years.
Okay, so two things to that. The convoy sort of broken up. Like if you had watched my
like the Beatles.
No. Like I would say more like a snake in Snakes and Ladders. The snake has been severed at certain sections because the cops want to maintain emergency lanes and thoroughfare. So
and the truckers were cool with that.
Well, the truckers are cool. The truckers are cool with everything. They want to be heard. Okay. But the only place where there's really loud honking incessantly is really on Parliament. So I don't know how many people live in condos in the neighborhood, but you walk 3 streets down, you don't hear very much honking. And what you do hear is faint in the distance. It just sounds like a murmur. But I
would be annoyed.
I don't know, you would be. But then I was talking to some of the truckers as they're on a street. I think everyone just heard me swallow there. As they're on a street making a barbecue, cooking, they offered me soup and a hot dog.
Oh, nice.
I said, how do the people here deal with this? And they said, they have no problem with it. They've come out and invited them in for showers. They've offered them food, offered support.
So you're gonna get some of the people that are pissed off.
I have no doubts. Yeah. But the reality is, it's not that much of an inconvenience. The reality is, from what I've seen and from what I've asked, people are not actually angry. And from what I've witnessed with my own 2 eyes that I broadcast to the world to see in real time, unedited, I saw nothing but respectful, a crowd more diverse than, a Justin Trudeau bachelor party.
I believe it.
And I interviewed an Indigenous man from Alberta. I interviewed a man who was born in Kuwait who said he left he didn't say tyrannical regime, totalitarian regime for freedom in Canada. He's been here for 30 years, and now he sees the same stuff here that he fled from in Kuwait. Another guy from Hungary.
Well, he doesn't see all the same stuff. Here we're hiding the fact that we're bombing Yemen.
We know what the government is doing, but above and beyond looking for wars elsewhere, they're just lying through their teeth to misinform all of Canadians who rely on the CBC, CTV for the news. But it's Truman Show level absurdity. You see what you're being told by the media. People urinating on monuments, desecrating monuments, defacing monuments.
And that was just me before I left.
No, but I go down. The desecration of the Terry Fox monument, a flag was put in his hand and a banner saying freedom on his chest.
Okay, I saw this. I have a question about this. So I'm one of those people who's like, you don't have to desecrate statues. I didn't consider that desecration. However, what I found weird is it was a politician who first tweeted it. And I saw the tweet in the photo, and he said, "This is disgusting. They put a Confederate flag on Terry Fox."
Lie.
And I'm
as
looking,
far as I know.
And I'm looking at the photo that he posted, and I'm like, "That's the Canadian flag." And I'm looking at the one behind it because he had like a cape, and he had the upside down. The upside down flag always bugs me, but that's OCD. I understand it means that you're
angry at your country.
Yeah, there's a problem. It's like a flag to tell people, hey, something's going on. But every time I see it because of my OCD, I want it face up. However, the whole idea of it, them saying it's a Confederate flag, and then people tweeting, look at this, they put a Confederate flag, and the images of Canadian flag, is it because they don't know what a Canadian flag is, or people are not looking at these photos?
I think people are not looking at the photos. People are just mixing ideas. There was one Confederate flag, literally one. Make a rule of it. There was literally one Nazi flag there. Make a rule of it. And by the way, I know the guy personally who told the guy with the Confederate flag to get out of here. Nobody's interested in that. I know him personally. I think he publicly identified who he was on Twitter, but just in case I won't mention it, I know him personally. He texted me and said, by the way, that guy with the hat telling him to leave, that was me. There's nobody.
And what about, remember that opportunistic photo with the guy that actually had a swastika flag that was like off in the distance? We don't know. No one else at the protest saw them. It was just the photos that came out. They put out rewards to try to find. I think a lot of news outlets got together. 2,000 here, 2,000 here. It's like over 10,000. Did they find out who this guy is?
As far as I know, they didn't. I wanted to tweet that. I think it was the reporter who I know that was offering the reward. Her name is Mary Oakes, and I might be mistaking your first name.
Okay.
Oakes, offering a reward for this. This one individual off in the fringe part of and I say fringe is in the actual fringe, like not on the outskirts of the protest.
Yeah, no, the protesters didn't get to see him. Yeah,
carrying a swastika flag, and lo and behold, there happens to be a photographer with a professional gear 3 feet from him. There are rumors online that the individual who is the photographer works with Justin Trudeau. I can't verify any of that.
They said that it was Adam Scotty. I've verified with a friend of the show, part of the morning show, George Chanzuzos, who was friends with him, who knows them well. He looked at the picture during the show in the morning. We did the morning show, and he said, that's not him. He looked at the picture and he says, look, I know him well. He goes, it's not him.
I don't partake in those things because when you start doxing people and sicking an internet mob on them, it's not, I don't leave the justice to the justice.
So here's the other issue. Let's say it was him, or either way, the way the reaction is online, that'll cause you to, even if you want to talk to people, that'll cause you to want to block everyone and not deal with it, because it must be a lot.
No, there's no doubt. Sicking the internet mob for justice.
But the guy that we have here that knows him said on the photo, they go, it's not him.
And I people send me the message, can you corroborate this? First of all, I don't corroborate things I observe with my eyes, and you can assess.
Yeah.
So I don't share that, but whatever the case, the one dude with another freshly pressed, brand new. Where do you get a Nazi flag?
Okay,
where do you buy them?
So I asked the same question. On 2 Drink Minimum with Michael Ward, we went down a rabbit hole. We found a website that makes anyone, and they have Nazi flags, they have they have whatever you want on there. Decently priced. You buy 2, you get a third one free. So you can get all kinds of different. But it's the only way, and this makes me think, there can't be that many swastika flags. There's not that many people in Canada, I would hope, that are willing to own a Nazi, like a swastika flag. we gotta know who's buying. Like,
I was going to say, owning is one thing.
Yeah.
Purchasing is another.
Yeah.
So in
unless
this,
it's a family heirloom.
that one was not a family heirloom. That one was probably made in China, brand new, fresh press. So look, in today's
Imagine
day and
how
age,
confused the Chinese guy that made it is. He's like, this is going to Canada?
I got to tell you, some of the socks that I get that are, Canadian Maple Leafs that are made in China socks, and it's weird. The whole thing is preposterous. So you just have to walk through it for 5 minutes, for 5 hours. You'll understand you're being lied to. And I've had enough. I drove down. I've converted at the very least 3 people within my immediate circle who said, this is polar opposite what I'm being told on the news and on social media. So if I've converted 3 people who are within my immediate circle, I hope I've converted others.
I did notice that with my circle too. I noticed some people that were tweeting or posting on Instagram, hey guys, I'm seeing what's happening in Ottawa. But it looks like the media is saying there's just 30 people that are out there. Why are they acting like they're thousands? Are they all delusional? And then I was like, are they insane? There's live streams, there's videos. They're not 30 people. But just because I guess the CBC came out and said there's 50 people outside, they're just like, yes, there's 50 people.
2 things.
What is that? That's insane.
Battle of misinformation. There was an image of Parliament Hill saying, with a few people scattered here and there, and it says, oh, look at the thousands of protesters.
I know photographers that went down there first day, Friday and Saturday, with drone shots. And it is, I've never seen people like that.
Packed. But this is how it works. So someone tweets out this image. Oh, look at thousands of protesters to mock it.
Yeah.
The timestamp is cut off the picture. So surely, either before or at a different time of day, there'll be fewer people there. Breaking up the convoy, my theory is, okay, fine. I understand the official explanation. Keep lanes open. You got to let the traffic of the city go
I'm all
through.
for it.
But it also breaks it up so that when you get an aerial of Parliament Hill,
weird.
It looks smaller than it otherwise is because there's kilometers of convoys down the street. They're stuck in Quebec because they've shut down both bridges or they've locked off both bridges, so they can't come
this
over.
is really true? They did that?
I'm talking with the cops. They don't know why. They don't confirm anything of where the orders come from, but they say the bridge is closed. So you have in Quebec tons of trucks that can't get over. They're now going to Quebec City, from what I understand, and there's going to be another convoy of love in Quebec City.
This is why Legault has changed his tune the last week. He's like, you know what? I feel bad. My people have suffered. I'm willing to. This is amazing. Johns Hopkins just released yesterday new stats. The lockdowns statistically have proven to have decreased the mortality rate by 0.02%.
Oh, the lockdowns of COVID mortality.
Yes.
Okay, fine. How about
That's how much they helped. They helped less than one. So now when I saw that yesterday, I started laughing. I go, holy shit. Justify the suicide rate, justify shutting down small businesses now, you idiots.
No, and not just that, just appreciate it. That's minuscule for COVID deaths.
Also, I think because that came out now, it's something Rogan, said before. I think Neil Young is going to boycott Johns Hopkins.
Until he needs medicine.
Yeah.
That's what insignificant for decreasing COVID deaths. Check what it's done to life expectancy in the United States. And life expectancy by demographics. Because it's not everybody who gets harmed as much by lockdowns, by having their kids not go to school. It's not all demographics. Yeah. And I'll spoiler alert is I don't know the exact stats now, but it's like several years, 3 point some years for the Black community, 2.7 for the Latino community. Some communities are affected less. The elite that are imposing these measures, but just wait and see the average life expectancy, how much it's been brought down not because of older people dying, because of younger people dying. And they're now mentioning suicide is in fact up. Accidental overdoses, which I would be inclined to include in suicide. Accidental or reckless behavior leading to death, or despair behavior, which includes suicide and overdoses. Undiagnosed treatments or undiagnosed ailments that require treatments that they're going to get later at a too late stage. I don't use the word crimes against humanity too often because it's a very, very hyperbolic term. But these are crimes. They've been committed against humanity at large. And look, I wish I lived long enough to see those responsible for this be held accountable.
I've said this before, if this stands to reason, what I've been thinking, there's going to be some lawsuits from the medical community, nurses, doctors in a couple of years, because I truly believe, I know one ICU nurse that's very close to me that's been through this for the past 2 years and she's been going fucking crazy. So the fact that they haven't added money, just say here in Quebec, to the hospitals when they needed it to help them out, and they're going through it for 2 years. In the beginning, they didn't even know what the fuck this was, and they were still going to work. It could have killed them. They didn't know. They were still going to work. Now they're understaffed. Sometimes they're 2 employees. They should be 10. It's just anarchy. They're seeing people die. They're going crazy. They have to turn people away. All that stuff that's happening, that's like the people that went to war and then came back. They're going to have that PTSD. I see a giant lawsuit, whether the government likes it or not, in a couple of years, where they go back, they go, hold on a second. You guys had time to prepare. You didn't give us money. You let us just up to our knees in fucking people trying to figure this shit out. We had to refuse certain people because we're like, oh, we got to focus on COVID. Then COVID patients would come in. We're like, well, there's only 2 of us here. There's 4 COVID patients. What do we do? They're going to have to pay for this because there's no way psychologically that's going to be good for these nurses. The one that I know that I'm telling you, I could already tell she's completely fucked up because of it.
You know, it's good to be king. Good luck suing the government. The problem is, I don't know who's going to ever be held accountable because pharma companies have been immunized for the product. So any problems, and we're seeing stats come out now, by the way.
And I heard Pfizer is fighting to keep the actual safety stats that they had to keep them away from the public.
I know, there was I don't know if it was a FOIA request, but there was a request to release the backup
the safety
data.
reports.
Yeah. You know, they have tens of thousands of pages. They said they need 55 years to release it.
And a judge said you got 7 months. I remember
judge
that.
said 7 months, and now they're going to appeal it. I mean, they're never going to be held accountable because they've been immunized by the government.
Yeah.
The long-term healthcare facilities, who arguably may have not done the right things, will, by and large, will not be held accountable. There was talk to immunize them as well in Ontario. The politicians have effective sovereign immunity of sorts. They're not going to be held responsible. And even if they are, they're going to pay for it with taxpayer dollars, the same way now Trudeau is using $40 billion of taxpayer dollars to settle historical atrocities his own father and previous governments committed against the Indigenous. So it's nice. Even when they're held accountable, we pay for it.
Another thing that confuses me about all this, is there any chance, you being a man of the law, is there any chance that this could fly where there could be a civil lawsuit where a bunch of citizens would get together? Just demand information, let's say. So from Pfizer, you and I were sitting here, we're both double vaxxed. Shouldn't we have the right to know what they found, what the safety data says? Shouldn't we have the right, the long-term effects, whatever they have?
I don't know what the equivalent would be, and I'm not sure if this would be a FOIA request, which is Freedom of Information Access, Freedom of Information Act. I don't know. I wouldn't venture into it, but people are going to sue. In the States, they're more litigious than here. Here, tell us what to do, and we're happy to do it until a group of people say enough is enough, and now we're going to go to Ottawa with our trucks. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see who sues for what, but don't ever expect to get the information. I mean, the powers that be will drag it out through the lawfare process, and then maybe one day we'll know the truth. Maybe one day we'll know what these trials were actually like. I do the weekly streams with Robert Barnes, and he's heavily involved in actual lawsuits with the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Children's Health Defense or Children's Defense Health. He's got a whistleblower from the Pfizer trials who has divulged that it was nothing short of a shit show. The trials, nothing short of a shit show. That they were minuscule sample tests or sample fields to come to radically broad conclusions. I won't get into it because we've discussed it and I don't want to mangle the details, but rubbish. And the problem is when you fight corruption, corruption fights back, and these whistleblowers come out and they get ostracized, demonized, and basically unpersoned in the world so that people think they have nothing meaningful or legitimate to say.
Speaking of that, you spent the weekend with James O'Keefe?
We were there. We blitzed in and out. I was invited to attend and to give a 5-minute intro speech at his book launch for his book called The American Muckraker, Rethinking Investigative Journalism in the 21st Century. Great book, because it's nothing more than a documentary of media corruption.
But Project Veritas has dropped some nice gems. Yeah,
it's Project Veritas has dropped bombs, and what happens to Project Veritas? Demonized, radicalized, or described as radical, described as right-wing extremism. I told someone I was going down. It still shocks me that people don't know who James O'Keefe or Project Veritas is. They Google it and it's like, oh, Wikipedia says he's a right-wing, what do they call him? A provocateur journalist.
Okay, but do you know what's crazy about that? This is because in the beginning, I too, when I first heard, I think it was during, when I found out that they're selling, I didn't know that a lot of these places could sell aborted fetuses. They were taking them, and I was like, this is some conspiracy shit.
That is some black pill stuff right there.
But it's true. It's not fake. So then I was like, what the fuck? And then I realized what they were doing is they're not creating like documentaries on YouTube where they're giving their opinion. What they would do is they would go in, hidden camera, and ask the people responsible, and they would admit it on camera. Same thing with Google, with CNN, so many bombshells, but it's not a case of misinformation. It's literally, so what'd you do? And they're telling you on camera, I don't know, I took a bribe, I did this. He'll come out with that video, and they'll be like, look at these conspiracy theorists. The guy's fucking telling you.
What they do is they say deceptive editing. It's dishonest editing. First of all, as far as I understand, James O'Keefe and Project Veritas puts out all of the unedited source material for anyone to see.
What's that, Phil? One sec.
So just for context,
Yeah.
this is from Wikipedia, okay? Project Veritas is an American far-right activist group founded by James O'Keefe. The group produces deceptively edited videos of its undercover operations, which use secret recordings in an effort to discredit mainstream media organizations and, the kicker, progressive groups.
So which is it, secret or is it deceptive? So they think it's deceptive because it's secret, but no one's going to admit to crimes.
There was
willy-nilly.
There was a time when investigative journalism involved undercover cameras. I mean, the real media used to do it. I remember growing up, 60 Minutes. We went in with a hidden camera and captured them making criminal admissions that they would otherwise never make.
You wearing a wire right now, Viva?
No, dude, there's not enough place on me for a wire. But I always take for granted that people are recording it. It keeps you honest. I mean, you will not.
I guarantee you this is being recorded.
So that's a delusional description of James O'Keefe. First of all, they've had stuff against Fox News. They've had stuff against CNN. To call them far right is delusional. To say it's deceptive editing is dishonest because, first of all, you have to edit a 2-hour interview. So if you want to have a video that you put out there, you can't put out the 2 hours, but they make their source material available. So you can see if it's been dishonestly edited. A la Katie Couric, adding a dishonest pause after asking NRA members a question to make them look like idiots. That's deceptive editing.
Yeah, Borat does it too, apparently. Sacha Baron, he does the same thing.
He's the worst.
Yeah.
He is... I don't like him. Okay.
I did it. You notice it now because I work with Phil and I do but the first Borat, man, I love that movie. It made me laugh so much. But I didn't notice the deceptive cuts.
In the Giuliani clip of the second?
I didn't notice from the first movie because I wasn't aware in the world. Guys like him would notice because that's what he does, the filmmaker, right? But now the new movie, I had noticed right away. I was like, wait a second, that doesn't seem, that seems off. It's still funny, but it's like it would have been funnier if it was real. That's what made us laugh the first time. The fact that it's deceptively edited makes it less funny.
But the first one had no political agenda, so
That's
it didn't
why.
matter.
Yeah,
It was done deceptively, or they had ellipses in the cuts so that you would laugh. There was no other agenda except for I'm Sacha Baron Cohen and this Borat. Yeah. Right? Now all of a sudden he's got an agenda.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't even like the first one because there's even undercover journalists. You don't go out and exploit
dummies,
a vulnerable individual like a predator. So when he got that frat boy totally pissed drunk and he started talking about, BITCHESs and slavery, you ply an individual so that you can exploit them for your own monetary gain and effectively ruin their life. It's not funny. It's not even journalism. It's predatorial behavior. And, to swing it full back, I saw the CBC. I didn't see it. Sorry. Someone sent me a video, someone who I trust, of the CBC at the protest interviewing someone who was clearly either inebriated or not well. Yeah. And, a fringe on the fringe, like on the outskirts, not a fringe minority. They take this guy, interview him, get him to, he's behaving in a way that is not going to reflect well on him, let alone others. And then they run with that. It's predatory behavior. But to accuse James O'Keefe of that, I mean, it is confession through projection. It is the enemy accusing their adversary of doing what they're doing to create confusion. And I know James O'Keefe. I didn't know who he was 3 years ago. And I've grown to know him through 3 years of his work. He's doing what journalists used to do. He's challenging the establishment. He's calling out the establishment and big pharma and government. And there's really nothing more dangerous than that. And that's the result. Big government, big pharma, and the powers that be trying to unperson him and demonize him.
How have you seen the change in people's perspective and mentality the last month? Have you seen more of a awakening, people going to sleep, people don't want to deal with this? Because I have seen a lot more people wake up in my circle, be like, what the fuck? This is clearly fake news. Why is the media just pushing this? But at the same time, I know a lot of people who are so over everything. They're so upset at seeing all this stuff. They're just like, I don't even want to know anymore. I'm fatigued. I have COVID fatigue, trucker convoy fatigue, Trudeau fatigue. And I understand where they're coming from. It's stressful. You can't trust these people.
My experience, and one has to be, honest and self-reflective. I don't know if I'm too much in my own bubble or silo that all I hear is that which I already believe. I know that I've a handful of people who said, holy shit, I never realized how bad it was over the last month. Yeah. And I can only assume that that's going to be more outside of my milieu because, look, I do my best to reach my friends, but my friends who already think that I've been radicalized and whatever, they're probably not listening to me anymore. The people who don't have enough time to listen to a 3-hour podcast, you can't reach people who can't reach themselves.
Yeah.
But I've noticed an array of people saying, holy crap, it's over the top. Is Justin Trudeau mentally deranged? Is Jagmeet Singh, does he know what's going on out there? I mean, and now people are realizing the hypocrisy where Ford and if anyone can get the mayor of Ottawa, Stinton, Jim, something or other, they're saying, okay, we've had enough. You guys have been here for long enough. You've disrupted the Ottawa for long enough.
Oh, yeah, we heard you.
We heard you.
That's not how this works.
2 years, they disrupted the economy. 2 years, they shut people in their homes. 2 years, they treated people like prisoners. And after 3 days in Ottawa, they're saying, enough is enough, guys. Go home. You've done enough damage.
What's his name?
Jim Watson.
Jim Watson.
What a name.
Jim Watson and Doug Ford. The literal patriarchy that the government warns us about, saying, you misogynist, racist. Yeah. They said Islamophobic, anti-black racist, anti-Semitic, transphobe is what Justin Trudeau said of this crowd. I think it's
kind of funny when I see them say that, and I also think it's funny when someone shows up with a flag. I was telling them yesterday on another show, it's just everyone's there like, open up businesses, and then you have one guy like, what's the deal with the Jews? And people are like, what the fuck? You got the wrong protest.
You walk it. I mean, they have I ran into everybody. Everybody. They literally had Indigenous groups setting up teepees and doing prayer dances in the park. I could go on, but
speaking of the Indigenous, I got something for you. So I wanted to actually try to find a way to help out because there's still reserves that do not have clean drinking water. And I was wondering, I said, you know what? I put a call out to my fans. I got some messages back. Put me in contact with one of these nearby so we can start talking and see is it bureaucracy that's stopping? Is it money? What is it? If there's any way we could raise funds to get them clean drinking water. I found one outside of Peterborough, Ontario. I'm trying to communicate with them because I saw a press release they put on the 3rd of February, just now.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
But it said something that they needed billions. And I was like, they're not that far from people. Why would this cost? Like, is there something I'm missing? How is it if we build a new neighborhood north of Montreal, let's say, at the same distance, it's not going to cost billions to get them water? What's going, because billions is hard to raise. How am I going to raise billions?
Well, the deal is this. I don't know what the problem is for why they can't get clean drinking water to some of the reservations.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 2 ways you get drinking water, and a combination of them is you drill or you bring in pipes.
I was thinking pipes.
So, or a combination of both. Like you find an area that has good underground water table, you drill wells, and then you pipe it in.
Yeah.
Whether or not it costs billions, it's inconceivable in a modern society
that it will cost billions.
Even if it costs billions, that it would take 20 years to do.
Yes.
And by the way, if it costs billions, even if it does, hey Trudeau,
let's do it.
Set aside your $1 billion for your racist, discriminatory vax passport.
Yeah.
Put that into and in the interim, get clean water. If it has to be plastic bottles, so be it.
Yeah, make a deal with ESCA and just send them in.
Send them in containers. Like when Michigan had its problem, they didn't force the citizens. Well, first of all, other than neglecting, lying, corrupt, through corruption, letting them get sick and die.
Oh, we're talking about Flint?
They're Flint, yes. So other than that, once they got caught and it's like, oh, well, now we're going to ship in water. So hey, how hard is that to do?
Yeah.
But there was an interesting GoFundMe that was started in response to the convoy to get clean water to the Indigenous. And what I loved is
I didn't see this.
Yeah, they raised several $100,000, and
nice.
I donated to it, but good. I tweeted it out and I said, you guys are framing this as a response to the trucker convoy. Like, let's have a GoFundMe for good. You don't realize that your GoFundMe to get clean water to the Indigenous, it's a testament to the incompetence and corruption of the Trudeau government.
100%.
So don't blame the convoy. Put it into perspective and understand who's to blame for the problem that you are rightly trying to solve now.
Watch the convoy turn around and be like, here's $3 million. Get some water.
They've got $10 million. I guarantee you the convoy could raise... People want to help and people want to do good.
Yeah.
But when you're going to do it, don't frame it as though you're sticking it to the convoy. The convoy is out there to do good too. Stick it to the freaking government that you have to raise money because the government can't apportion... Yeah, they can give $1 billion of our dollars to separate and divide society, but they can't actually give $1 billion to provide clean drinking water to the group that they're paying $40 billion to compensate for historical atrocities. Let you wrap your mind around that.
Yeah, how are you compensating when you're not giving them water?
Well, I think
that's the bare minimum.
That might be part of the plan. So there was it was $20 billion for damages, $20 billion for infrastructure.
You know what bothers me? Part of the plan. This is a necessity for life. We're talking about water. It can't be look, long term. Part of the plan could be erecting a statue, having a sports team. That's a long term goal. Water should be the first fucking thing on the list.
Well, here there could be some logistical, politics because it's on, native reserves. There might be issues with the bands as to what they want. There might be logistic problems. There might even be corruption within the bands.
So you know what
themselves.
I would say? While there's logistic, and I'm not.
Here's endless cases.
Endless
of water.
cases of fucking clean drinking water.
And if you're worried about your environmental footprint, you could give it in the little box water that Justin Trudeau was, sponsoring
some
a while
box
back,
water.
or recycle the plastic.
Or
afterwards.
recycle the plastic. Figure something out. But this is ridiculous. I see this and I get disgusted.
No, and then you got Mark Miller.
Who's that?
Mark Miller is the minister.
Any relation of Frank?
I don't know. I don't know who. Well, I don't know who's Frank Miller.
Frank Miller, the comic book guy.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. No, Mark Miller is the minister of Indigenous Affairs. For
Sounds Indigenous.
No, he's not. He's part of the system that they warn us about allegedly. They parade virtue signaling tweets around and they say, "Oh, we signed a historic settlement, dude." 2015. Trudeau has been in power. This is not a complicated problem to fix. But but his profile on Twitter, he's wearing an Indigenous themed face mask while
That'll do it.
That's it.
You want to get those Indigenous votes? Yeah. They think we're all low IQ.
But I won't say low IQ. They think we're ignorant, and a lot of us might be not low IQ, but just ignorant, ill-informed, and not necessarily apathetic, just overwhelmed. People are struggling to survive. You don't have the time to drive to Ottawa to see for yourself. You don't have the time to listen to a 3-hour podcast with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I'm
doing it well.
No, you're.
I'm dropping some knowledge.
I'm choking on my own rage saliva here. I send these podcasts out to people. It's like, I don't have time to watch that. It's like, well, dude, first of all, you tell me that I'm ignorant, and you tell me that you know more than me. And then when I tell you that I know more than you, when I give you the resources to go and at least discover the information that I've discovered, you then tell me, well, you have more time on your hands than I do, and I don't have time for this. So it goes from I'm smarter than you, you're ignorant, to okay, you know more, but that's just because that's what you do. You live on the internet. Yeah. So siphon down the information, and at the very least, you want to take hard positions. You better do some hard research. And if you don't have time for a 2-3 hour podcast, which is an hour to an hour and a half at 2x, you should not be taking public positions on anything.
Side note, you ever do the 2x thing?
I always do.
Most people do.
I never not do it. I'm told that people can't do it on my vlogs because I'm already that fast.
Yeah, you talk fast, yeah.
But the best thing in the world is I'm listening to the real Anthony Fauci, RFK's book. I'm at 1.5. When I go back to 1, it literally sounds like it's slowed down and like they're drunk. I mean, it sounds, and I can't. It's like, how do people listen to it? I don't need this much time to hear the words and digest them. Go faster.
Yeah, because you're an information guy. You were good in school.
Say it again.
Were you good in school? Were you a studious kid?
High school, I almost failed grade 7.
Everything.
My average was about 62.5, and I had to redo in grade 10. I had to redo the history of Quebec and Canada. I was not in high school. I was not a good student. 3 high schools in 5 years, so I had other issues as well. CEGEP, I was on the dean's list at Dawson, and then McGill honors philosophy. So I picked up as I don't know.
When you
down.
got interested, you were good.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of like what you're doing now.
Look, when you have a lot of energy and it needs focus, if you try to focus on something that you don't like, it will always be torture. I used to practice piano or play piano growing up for like 13 years. I had to practice an hour and a half a day because my mother sat me down at the piano and make me do it. I may have been good. I won one year. I won the Concours Vincent d'Indy with a Bach piece, and I practiced an hour a day and beat a guy who practiced 6 hours a day. But it was torture for me to sit down and do piano for an hour and a half.
You weren't down with it.
No, but man, stick me on the street with a camera so I can talk to people and just hear their stories. I can do it all day long. I don't have to eat. I may have to pee occasionally, but I can focus on something that I like. And it's true. I mean, that's when CEGEP, I was into film, art, photography, philosophy, and I actually became a good student, so to speak.
You would have made a great VJ in the MTV days. If only you people controlled the media and you could have got yourself in there.
What's a VJ? Because I know something.
You remember MTV used to have those guys in the street?
No, I was
People
thinking
would host
something-
the shows.
I was thinking something else entirely.
VJ is the name of an Indian fellow.
No, that's not even. That's not even where I
You
was.
would have made a great Patel.
I wasn't.
You never
even there.
thought when you were young? Did you think about that getting into the media?
No. My dream job my dream was to direct music videos.
Oh, that's badass. How come you didn't get into that?
Well, now I realize I'm directing music videos. They just happen to be rap law videos, and there's no music, so it's just it's a
Just you freestyling.
It's sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke. I'm making videos now, throwing in whatever creative humor that I can put in,
Yeah.
and it's sort of like it's a music video. It's just spoken word, and it relates to law and not love.
Speaking of the humor, I noticed myself with all these podcasts. I think it's a sickness. I can't disconnect from being a comedian.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing. That's not a curse.
When they're there, I take them, and sometimes it's inappropriate, but I can't help it. I'm like, this is a great joke.
That's when you're a comedian with no filter. That makes you a good comedian. I've got a bit of the fear of cancellation filter, and that wheel is always spinning in my head. But if you lose your sense of humor, the world has defeated you.
I got a text from someone that doesn't normally talk to me, and they were concerned about my Trudeau tweet because he made a tweet for Black History Month, and I just retweeted. I said, "Powerful tweet from a black icon," and someone messaged me like, "Are you sure you could say?" I said, "Really, nothing wrong. I'm making fun of him. He's the one getting made fun of in that tweet."
Well, here's the thing. I'll say fake news, dishonest people. They will pretend not to get a joke when they want to pretend to not get the joke.
Yeah, it's clearly against him.
But I'll tell you one thing: where I may have, in my own mind, I licked my finger and did a little tss when I read Pierre Poilievre's tweet to Trudeau. He says,
"Oh, what did he tweet?
I've been to this protest and I have not seen. I'm going to mangle it, but he said I have not seen any acts of racism, discrimination, or anyone in blackface."
That's funny.
That it was, and I put out a little snap retweet. But I mean, he's gotten saucy. But at some point,
I think he's going to be the next leader of the Conservatives because I found out that the interim leader is not allowed to run for leadership. So that's why now it's the other MP, the woman who was just kicking ass.
I don't know. I don't know
in
enough.
Parliament this week. So she's the interim leader right now. And everyone thought, they don't want Poilievre, but I found out that he's not allowed. If you're the interim leader, you can't run for leadership. So I think they're setting her up now because she's good, and then for the leadership race, he's probably going to throw his hat.
Well,
because I don't like everyone. I was saying this. The happiest thing that happened was that the truckers. The best thing they did was that they forced Aaron O'Toole out. I hate that guy.
No, and then you got. Well, I'm going to get back to the Pierre Poilievre. Let's just close that bracket. I don't know what goes on in politics. I don't know why he didn't run as the leader the last time. So I don't know. How
I heard
things work.
something. I think it was on the French podcast. Someone told me this. That they have a lot of dirt on him. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, look, if you can become prime minister with blackface more times than you can remember, and all the crazy racist shit he said about Indigenous people, and the guy who he wanted to cut his hair because he knew that it was very important for Native Canadians for identity
and history.
So he thought that was funny to hurt with his ego if the guy is forced to cut his hair. All that weird, like actual racist shit. Like we joke about racism, but that's like Trudeau's done and said some weird shit. If that you could become prime minister.
Yeah, but but there's a big but to that. With that. But with a media that covers your butt and being the liberal and having the CBC in your back pocket and concealing those images that they knew. I forget which outlet had them. Those images were known and were had. They were absolutely
we only
concealed.
found out about them years later, I think on his second term.
But even then they were known before they got disclosed. But it's like it's the MSM, bought off media thing. Deny it until you can't deny it, then minimize it. They did the same thing with those pictures. So having dirt on Trudeau is different than having dirt on a conservative leader.
Right.
CBC sued the Conservatives with an injunction to stop them from using CBC news material in political ads. They didn't sue the Liberal Party, who did the exact same thing. So it's weaponizing entities of the state for political purposes, which is why dirt on a conservative is a weapon and dirt on a liberal is something to be hidden. I've heard the same rumors. I mean, I don't repeat these rumors, but I heard the same thing. What the heck is wrong with politicians that they don't? They all have dirt in their past,
But everyone has dirt. It depends what you consider dirt. So Trudeau had look, that's legit dirt.
Legit dirt.
You're trying to run and our country's a friendly country. They like each other. So to racist shit, that's some crazy dirt.
Well, especially when you're running around condemning racism left, right, and center, and accusing everyone else of racism.
So that's crazy in this country. But dirt, it depends how you quantify it. Like there's some people on, like, let's say the conservatives that still think that you should electrocute gay people to turn them straight. That's like conversion therapy. Look, as far as I'm concerned, that's some crazy ass shit. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Poilievre was electrocuting some dudes. Who the fuck knows? Maybe it's that. I doubt it, but I'm saying that would hurt everyone, because I'd even be like, I like the way you backtalk, sir, but why are you electrocuting homosexuals?
There's dirt in the meaningful sense. Domestic abuse, animal abuse, child abuse, infidelity.
Maybe Poilievre threw a backhand. Who knows?
These are things, or DUIs, which that would be, or drugs, DUIs, criminal history that has been covered up, offensive statements within relevant, historical time frames. So, but nonetheless, I mean, we have 36 million people. Our politicians can't have, clean enough histories that they don't have these scandals come up to discredit them and to distract from effective governance.
Wait till the next generation. They all have dick pics floating around right now. Wait till the next generation.
By the way, not a total conspiracy theory. The idea that TikTok might be, on the one hand, a Chinese method of social engineering in Western society, one thing, and gathering information to blackmail people going forward. It's
so smart.
It's smart. And I got to tell you, if you call it a conspiracy theory to write it off, you're willfully deluding yourself.
These are not conspiracy theories, because we have seen examples. Remember Anthony Weiner? We have seen examples of these sites and being used against politicians. What we have to do, which we can't, because I've noticed that a lot of hardworking, honest people that mean well for everyone don't get into politics for many reasons. Sometimes they're not allowed in. Something they don't want to. Me personally, I think about politics. I'm like, that's ugh. Because to be in politics, you saw that when you got into it. You have to deal with politicians, which is the most frustrating thing. You can't get a straight answer. You're like, hey, you think we should do this? Well, I was thinking the other day that racial equality. Can we give them water? The thing about racial equality is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's complicated. We have to, yes, you can't get a straight answer.
Reasonable people don't want to get into that. So unless a reasonable person gets into it and changes from the inside, I don't see this changing.
Me neither. And I was just thinking, the night of the election, or the night before the election, when I ran with the PPC and I was naive enough to think I had a chance, there was a moment of terror. I was like, holy crap, if I do get elected, I'm going to be a wheel in a machine that is rusted, frozen.
Yeah, beyond repair.
And like, what am I going to do? So I'll go there, and even Pierre Poilievre, he gives great speeches in Parliament, and he gives passionate, eviscerating breakdowns and insults, meaningful ones, not gratuitous ones. And that's it. Okay, so the clip goes on Twitter. You get some,
but no change is made.
Change in
he has
nothing,
no power,
because you can't. Because it's a big, disgusting machine. It's corrupt to its core, with interests that are beyond the politicians themselves. And I think it will swallow, destroy, or break, or corrupt any genuinely good person who goes into it. And this was my thought: am I not able just to be happy and make more of a difference from the outside than from the inside? But look, I was pushed to a limit. I ran. I'm not sure I'd ever do it again. And I'm going to just continue trying to do more useful stuff from the outside. But that thought went through my head. Like, okay, you get corrupted. The power goes to your head. Or there's overt, threats and intimidation.
They come like, hey, Viva, you want another dog?
We saw you walking your dog last night. You should really approve that medicines that we're trying to get.
Yeah.
So there's
because you never know who will give your dog a treat.
No joke. My dog ate some food off the street. I was like, holy cow, did he just eat dog poison?
You never know.
So there's all different ways of corrupting an individual, and you see it. I mean, look, Trudeau once had beautiful, alive, vibrant eyes, and I look into those dead eyes now, and I don't know.
Cubans don't all age well. So here's the thing.
That took me a while to understand what just happened there.
Can we force some kind of referendum right now? Do we have to wait for Trudeau to announce elections?
No, they can vote on a vote of no confidence. I forget the exact procedure, but bottom line, they can say, look, we want to put it to a vote now. And I mean, the problem is they just called an election that cost $600 million.
That's an embarrassment. And it got them nowhere.
Nowhere, which is the ultimate kick in the groin. It's not we had a radical change, like Trudeau got a massive amount of votes, which would have pissed me off, but at least it would have said people are happy with him. Got nowhere. And nowhere despite the last 2 years, which means that people are just, here's my vote, liberal, conservative, and that's it.
And this Jagmeet guy, do you remember when the NDP was Jack Layton? That guy seemed like a fucking good dude. I like that guy.
He was a good dude.
I fucking like that guy.
I have disdain for Trudeau and Jagmeet. O'Toole, I mean, I did not like O'Toole.
He's a goddamn android.
He had no principles. He had no charisma. He had no intellectual honesty or intellectual fortitude.
The man is a robot. He speaks like this.
Well, I noticed whenever
weird.
Go back and listen to him. Whenever he speaks, it doesn't sound like he's breathing. It just, I don't know how, it sounds like the voice is coming out with no breath. Setting that aside, I have no political preferences here, except I know and trust Maxime Bernier. O'Toole irritated me. I have disdain for Justin Trudeau because he's a liar and he's malicious, and Jagmeet Singh as well. Jagmeet Singh, we've talked about it, gets up there during the election, calls people who oppose mask mandates selfish, extremists, don't care about community, don't want to invest in social programs.
So he's saying that about Sweden, Norway, Finland,
No, but
Holland.
he's saying that about himself.
The man is a racist.
3 days later, he's out there not wearing a face mask, breaking his COVID rules, hugging his buddy who's driving a Beamer. You know, life is good when you're king. I have nothing but disdain for the intellectually dishonest who try to lie to people to divide them. And then he comes out now and talks about, we need to get those supplies across. There's perishable items that are stuck in Montana, and we need to stop this convoy in Alberta. Dude, you supported destroying Canada for the last 2 years. Now you're concerned about a convoy on the border of Manitoba. Nothing but disdain. I don't know how these people rise to the position that they rise to. I don't know how Trudeau got to where he is, but for the last name. But he has gotten progressively more and more disgusting, where I think people now see it. I thought they saw it last election, but maybe I was wrong.
No,
Jagmeet, same evolution.
Well, a lot of people don't see this stuff because their only source is what's ever on the TV, which is CBC, CTV. They don't. But when I say this to people, they don't understand that they're actually bought and paid for. They don't get it. They think, oh, the government's giving grants, but of course they make money, ads or whatever. They're independent. They're not independent at all. They can't say. There's people that are inside. They're like, fuck, I wish I could tell you guys what I think, and they can't.
People don't understand.
That's why podcasts exist. That's why we blew up. It's because of this.
And by the way, that's also why the Trudeau government now wants to rein in the internet the way they've reined in radio and television. People say, fine, the Canada Broadcasting Act, it's a federal legislation. It applies regardless of whichever political party's in power. True. Except since 2015, they'd get $1 billion a year, CBC Radio-Canada, from the Liberals, while they know that the Conservatives want to defund the CBC. So who are they going to remain loyal to? Who are they going to go after? Who's going to motivate the slant and the bias of their news coverage when you are being funded by one government against another one that literally wants to defund you? Then you got Justin Trudeau doling out $600 million in bailout to the media because it's such a flailing, dying industry. $600 million, I think it was to 157 outlets. Then you got COVID. $88 million a year from the federal going to COVID ads. Quebec, $130 million a year coming from the provincial to run COVID ads on airtime of a flailing, dying media. What do you think happens? I mean, you would have to be, if you don't know this.
But by the way, the COVID ads was just a convenient way of them giving money to these stations. Because if they really wanted to get to the people, it's true. If they wanted to get to the people, they would have invested in the internet. No, but in the internet, if they cared about the ads. But the ads are bullshit because there was not one person a year into this is like, pandemic, the hell's COVID?
Oh my goodness. I'm supposed to wear, I didn't know that I was supposed to wear a face mask. I only see signs every 2 feet on the street. But you imagine.
What do you mean the world stopped? What are you guys talking about?
It's money laundering of taxpayer dollars to the media above and beyond all of the outright bailouts. And it controls the narrative absolutely through and through. And also, $130 million a year for COVID ads, while Legault himself is telling the hospitals they have to cut $100 million from their budgets. I mean, if you don't know this, and Google this, by the way, this is crazy. If you don't know this, you're not going to know that you're being lied to.
Oh, repeat that?
You're going to Google.
What am I Googling exactly?
Google Legault cut, Legault
What's the ultimate goal here? What am I looking for?
You're looking for Legault suggesting that the hospitals need to cut $100 million from their budget.
Okay.
Are we fucking crazy?
Yeah. No, this is, you'll get that. And my goodness, fact check me in real time, because if I'm misinformed and I'm mistaken, people, I'm not.
I'm on it.
Okay. Legault now is obsessed with getting reelected.
Quebec, this is from May 25th, 2021. It says, it's a headline, right?
Yep.
Quebec hospitals ordered to cut total of $150 million from budget. So
sorry, guys. I was wrong. $150 million.
How dare you, Viva? How dare you?
Hold on a second. We know that they're underfunded and understaffed for the better part of 20 years. And that's just reasonable.
Yep.
It's probably before that, but with all the different maladies that are coming out. and he's asking them just tighten your belt a little bit more.
Because you got, hey, those 130 million for COVID ads doesn't pay for itself. Silly Canadian, silly Quebecer. It's nuts.
So these nurses, especially the nurses, but the doctors too, but these nurses, how are they viewed upon by Legault? Does Legault view them as, I don't know, inbred kids that he doesn't care about? This is absurd.
Only the ones that refuse to take the jab. I mean, those are the ones that he views with disdain. All the other ones, they're good. They're good, humble servants.
Oh, they're good, humble servants. Well, even the good, humble servants have been going through shit for years.
There's
so
no
to tell
question.
them, you need less. They're working with less.
And imagine the resources that have been poured into COVID in terms of buying face masks, the potentially toxic face masks. You can Google that one too.
We didn't know about that. For the kids,
for the kids in the nurseries, the daycares and teachers. Graphene particles.
Phil remembers that.
Yeah, I remember
It's graphene that they found in a bunch of them. You're inhaling microparticles into your lungs.
People were complaining.
That was an accident, though. It wasn't on purpose. Calm down.
China, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Oh, but it was run through a local Quebec company. I wonder how they got the contract. But no, people felt like they had cat hair in their mouth, they said. And I had a daycare teacher who I knew personally came sobbing on my shoulder because she had been wearing one for the last 4 months. And that was who broke the story. That was who not broke the story, but told me about it because I was unaware. Oh, what was I just talking about? The government. I mean, it's if you do not know these things, you don't even know the degree to which you're being misled.
I'm being misled every day, Viva.
Every day of the week, and you need to find people from whom you can get honesty. And then when you start getting those sources and they start flourishing, because success has a way of leaving hints. Or what is it? My father says, success leaves clues. When they start succeeding on the internet and they start crushing the legacy media who are spouting lies and who are now being outed for having spouted lies, what do? Get your protector, the government, to come in and say, whoa, if you're acting like a broadcaster on the interwebs, we got to go and regulate you the same way we regulate the CBC and Radio-Canada, impose content requirements on you, impose hefty fees if you don't satisfy Canadian. But let's go cripple the independents who are succeeding on their own merits so that we can funnel that traffic back to the failing, dishonest legacy media. It's a big circle of corruption.
Biden came out and asked Spotify through his mouthpiece, Jen Psaki, who I don't consider her a real Greek.
Is she
supposed to be, but she's not acting like one. Asked Spotify to censor Joe Rogan. Now, this is what I find hilarious about the whole Joe Rogan thing. I understand that some of the stuff he talks about, COVID, it's touchy. But he's not out there saying crazy shit. He's bringing on experts, he's having conversations. So I'll see tweets from, let's say, articles that talk about Sharon Stone. And Sharon Stone is like, fucking idiot. He's just a lunatic talking about COVID. You're Sharon Stone. What the fuck? He's talking to scientists, you dummy. And also, and I tweeted this, it's crazy when I see him saying things like, there are treatments, early treatments, that were and are being used by politicians, himself included, celebrities, athletes. And what I'm saying is you should make this publicly available to everyone. It'll probably save more lives. And then the retort from some old artists are like, fuck you, I'm taking my music off of Spotify. That doesn't make any sense. Are they upset because they're not as famous, so they don't have access to this kind of treatment? Is that why they're mad?
I'll tell you one thing.
Because he lifted the veil and said, you guys ain't cool anymore.
There's a few things to this, especially Neil Young has revealed it. You have to look at who owns the rights to Neil Young's music.
There we go.
Okay. And
follow the money, says.
Follow the money. So first of all, Neil Young might have a vested interest in remaining relevant from an ego perspective.
Yeah.
From a financial perspective, who owns Neil Young's music? Now, I haven't done the breakdown, but from what has been explained to me, an entity known as BlackRock might own a lot of the rights or have financial interests in Neil Young's music.
Who owns BlackRock?
They are heavily intertwined with the Chinese government or China. So think about that from that angle. I looked up and I saw, I don't know how to determine these things. I looked up and saw that I think it was Sony. Someone had the licensing rights, but there are entities, and from what I'm told from smarter people than me, is that BlackRock as one entity has a lot of rights in Neil Young's music, who may have vested interests for trying to censor Joe Rogan on Spotify. But appreciate this. This is not Joe Rogan's entitled to his opinion. Nobody is looking at Joe Rogan like he's a doctor. He's interviewing actual doctors.
Yeah.
Dr. Malone. If he's not the inventor of our mRNA, he's at least one of the architects. Even fact checks had to admit that. He's interviewing Dr. McCullough. He's interviewing doctors. And then you have YouTube with their techno bureaucrats behind the scenes saying, we're going to censor that doctor's opinion. That's
But did you
medical
hear why?
misinformation.
Because they say it's medical misinformation because Joe Rogan is not a doctor. He's interviewing them.
My wish is that one day someone files a complaint against YouTube for giving medical advice without being a licensed professional. Because when you censor a licensed professional, you are saying, I know better than them. And I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's feasible. Maybe one person with more creativity can find a way to do it. But you have big tech acting like they are acting like an unlicensed professional by censoring actual licensed doctors and saying this is medical misinformation and we're taking it down.
I have a question. Japan just released some lovely information, phase 3 trials, that ivermectin is proven to be very effective against the current strain. I believe it's Omicron. Now, because they've come out and said that, is Neil Young going to stop selling his albums in Japan? Is Biden planning on dropping 2 more bombs on Japan? What's the deal with Japan?
So I don't know enough about this yet, nor would I even venture on a public opinion.
And another thing,
because I'm not a
many
doctor.
of these Scandinavian countries that we look up to have removed all mandates. Now that stats are coming out that a lot of the mandates, especially the lockdowns, do not help. They are, if anything, nefarious. Something that Rogan has said on many occasions, and they called him a conspiracy theorist, a liar. They don't want to deal with him. Are we boycotting the Scandinavian countries now? Are we going to stop? Is there going to be a trade embargo because they said something that's factual, but we don't like to hear?
Well, for back it up a little bit, is Neil Young going to stop selling his music in China, for example? I mean, does he would boycott for medical misinformation, but not for alleged genocide? And I'm saying alleged almost facetiously, but genocide, human rights violations. The study with Japan, from what I understood, from a discussion between 2 people who I think are smarter than me, is that it might not have been a fully peer-reviewed study, regardless.
They don't consider the Japanese their peers? That's also racist. That's very racist. That's another problem we got to address. The Japanese are very smart. Don't treat them like that.
But I am listening to the real Anthony Fauci, RFK. Take it for what it's worth. You can write it off as, batshit crazy stuff. Look, whether or not the efficacy of ivermectin is accurate,
I don't care. All I'm saying is someone brought it up. People were using it. Celebrity. How the hell come Boris Johnson, Trump, Rogan, Tim Dillon, everyone who used the monoclonal antibody treatment, ivermectin, whatever the fuck, and they were fine? How come they were allowed to use it? And then if you say, you think maybe your grandmother, in case she catches, should be able to have access to that too, so she could be saved? Like, fuck you! My grandmother would rather die than listen to your nonsense. It's crazy. It's fucking insane. Yes, Phil.
They've already suppressed it, by the way. I just found it on the internet.
What did they suppress?
The Washington Post came out and said, opinion, opinion, interesting. Reuters botches article on ivermectin and Omicron. No, a Japanese company did not find that.
It's not a Japanese company, it was the university.
Well, whatever. I'm just reading the article.
Yeah, but the national...
It says they did not find that it was effective, and they've since put a retraction out.
Yeah, the Washington Post, owned by Bezos, the Washington Post has just been releasing misinformation for, I think, a year and a half now.
Wait until... Oh, hold on. I just lost the thought. It was... Oh, ivermectin.
Yeah.
So, interesting thing. And this is not from RFK's book. This is from actual knowing the law through the live... my live streams with Robert Barnes. There's a good reason why you can't have an existing therapeutic to treat COVID.
Why?
Because then you would not be... If there's an existing therapeutic already on the market, you will not get emergency authorization use or emergency use authorization for an experimental vaccine.
Obviously.
So in order for Pfizer, Moderna, whomever to come up with
that there's already a
there
treatment.
cannot be an effective therapeutic treatment already existing to get EUA, which would give immunity to the vaccine manufacturer. So one of the theories is that the concerted effort to discredit and run off the market of ivermectin and what's the other one? Hydroxychloroquine was to rid the market or to demonize what would have otherwise been an existing therapeutic to treat COVID, which would have precluded the issuance of an EUA for an experimental vaccine because you would not have met the conditions to get EUA authorization.
Because something already exists.
Exists.
For example, all that stuff was given to... Because remember when Trump got COVID? I was convinced, I'm like, this guy's on a steady diet of Big Macs and crazy tweets. This guy's going down.
I was thinking the same thing with Boris Johnson.
Yeah, and then they pump these guys full of this shit and they're fine and they're older. It's like, how the hell come I don't have access to that? I want to have access to that shit.
Way, bear in mind, they are demonizing and calling it, horse dewormer, ivermectin, which is a medicine that's been around for decades.
Yeah.
For
horses.
For humans, for dengue fever, for all, river blindness. It's existed for decades. Now, whether or not it's effective against COVID, separate discussion.
Yeah.
Its proven safety on humans spans decades. So for the fake news now to come on and say it's a risky medication, we have to pull it off the market. You are the anti-science liars right now. But of course, that's how it works. Is the accuser is typically guilty of that of which they're accusing.
Or
the other.
perhaps you're a shill bought and paid for by the big horse lobby.
There is no better.
Have you taken big horse money?
I've not taken big anything money other than super chats on YouTube. But the
Big horse.
the mainstream media personality types like the Jake Tappers have become the biggest spokespersons for big pharma ever. The best marketers. And I just tweeted it out this morning. Our government has become the best salesperson for Pfizer, for Moderna. They're running ads on the airwaves saying, a boost is your best way to protect against COVID.
Well, not now.
I'm not even making a comment. I'm just saying that's whether or not it's true.
But here's the thing that fucks with me. Are you not allowed to evolve and change opinions? So in the beginning, I waited for so long. Do you remember? I didn't want to take the shot. I wanted to see what's happening with everyone because they were saying it's experimental. You can't do anything against the makers if anything happens. I was like, what the fuck? So I waited. Then months later, given all the stats that I saw, and I was like, I feel like my chances, if I catch it, because I hadn't caught it, I still haven't, are better if I do get the shot. And then I was like, you know what? You need the second one. I got both of them. At the time when I got them, I felt like that was the best decision, given the information I had in front of me. Now, a few months later, the information I have in front of me has changed. The Greek guy who is the CEO of Pfizer, he came out and said, look, even with the booster and even a 4-shot against Omicron,
it provides no protection, no meaningful, and then
protection.
Then they try to strip that video from the internet.
Yeah, they try to strip that video from the internet. No meaningful protection, which kind of makes sense in the sense that, look, the Omicron we got lucky is like nature's gift. It's very contagious, but not as deadly.
It's nature's gift. It's not Big Pharma's gift because it is not as deadly. It provides meaningful immunity from subsequent variations, and it makes the vaccine and the booster effectively useless for those who haven't gotten it.
So knowing now what I know, right now, I'm already at 2 though, I don't feel the need, all right, I need a 3rd one. I don't. Personally, I don't, given the facts I have now. If the facts change, let's say in 1 month there's a new strain, fucking omega strain, and you just catch that thing and you start pissing blood. All right.
I'll think about it.
Yeah, and the shot provides meaningful protection. All right, now we're back in business. I'm willing to evolve. I'm not stuck in a. I like vaccine. I like the fact that vaccines exist. I even like the fact that they're working with mRNA because if they would use it meaningfully the way it was intended to, you could do magical things with mRNA. You could solve problems that takes people chemo and months and it could kill them. If this stuff gets tested and we figure it out, you could send something right to the source of the problem. This is the future. It's magical. But it does not mean that I'm going to swallow everything.
Well, it's new and it's magical.
Yeah.
But it's new.
That's what I'm saying. So if they would, I'm saying in a couple of years, maybe 10, 15, who knows, if this could be a groundbreaking technology.
Yes,
it doesn't mean that I'm just going to take everything in now.
No, it's once you have the meaningful data that typically goes into getting standard FDA approval. Years of data and years of safety data. But look, and I'm double vaccinated. I'm not getting the booster. First of all, we got COVID over a month ago. Everybody, absolutely fine.
Yeah, he got it.
Whether or not it's because we
everyone here but me and Mike got it.
Well, you might have had it so mild you didn't even know you had it but for the fact that I was permanently and perpetually focused on my body's functioning, I might not have even thought it was anything more than a sniffle or a sore throat. But look, I got the vaccine. I explained why I got it at the time. There might have been a little undue external pressure. I was running for office. I play with the kids in the park. I didn't want to be that guy on the internet who is fighting for people's freedoms, complaining about things, and then infects the daycare kids at the park. I mean, given what a judge said in British Columbia, that if you break the law and go to a party and get grandma sick and she dies, as far as she's concerned, you're guilty of manslaughter.
But also, that would have been a terrible headline. Viva Frei gives COVID, infects children after playing with them in the park.
Daycare shut down after internet personality infects
plays
children.
With kids at park.
So, but I'm neurotic. Everybody knows it. After I took the second shot, I was like, am I going to have any of these adverse effects that have been reported? Facts change, but facts change. CTV article ran a story about the vaccine. They had to issue a minor correction at the end of the story. You can Google this one. Initially, we reported that the risks of a serious side effect from the vaccine were 1 in a million. That number, according to public health, data, is 1 in 10,000.
That's
1
pretty
in
high.
10,000. So that's CTV correcting their own stuff, talking about serious side effects from the vaccine. Your risks of serious side effect from COVID, if you're under 30, under 40, it's virtually nil. It's not 1 in 10,000.
You're not wrong. You're 100% right. The only thing I'm going to say, and I don't even like, I'm not a shill for these companies. This always happens with even the flu shot. There's some people, it's just, everyone's different. So some people are going to get the worst of it. Some people won't feel anything. I was one of the people who, both shots, I don't know if I got, because apparently even now when they give the shot, it's another thing I found out. Did you know when they're giving shots to people, there are still people that get placebo? Did you know this? I thought everyone gets the actual shot. I thought that was,
Yeah,
but
I'd like to fact check that.
So yeah, I heard about this. You double check if it's real. Yeah, well, they're supposed to, because that's the only way you get meaningful statistics.
No, but first of all, one of the theories, the more I would say the more consistent theory is that the intent is to eliminate any control group, not to maintain one.
So maybe they.
So
all I'm saying is
vaccinate everybody.
Personally, the way I am, the vaccine did nothing to me.
No, but by the way,
he was a little. I think after one shot had a little. The first one. The first one's a little screwed up. Poseidon. I think the first one a little bit of a headache, but nothing big. You couldn't tell that I got it.
But Pantelis, I mean, when they're talking about serious side effects, they're not talking about a fever and the chills for a day.
No, I know, but I'm saying none of us got the serious stuff. I'm saying I didn't even get the minuscule stuff. So, and I'm not defending them. All I'm saying is depending on who you are, your body will react different. Phil, what are you bringing up for us?
So about the placebo thing?
Yeah, I want to know, is that true?
So I think I found the article that you probably saw
Okay.
and maybe misinterpreted.
Tell me.
It says many COVID-19 vaccine side effects are caused by a placebo effect.
Okay, you just think you're sick.
This is probably what happened to me.
Oh my goodness, that's one hell of a way of discrediting people's reporting to.
That is a little,
I don't know. I
Yeah,
believe
your mild myocarditis is a placebo effect. You made it happen through the stress. I mean,
no, the myocarditis is real.
They don't want to
obviously.
put some placebo so they could control.
I don't think they can
statistics.
do that. I don't know
think they can do that.
I'm not sure.
But
I guess because you think you're getting protected. What if you don't?
No, that would be. That
Oh,
would
yeah,
be
you're right.
But where you might be mistaken there is exactly what they did in the Tuskegee experiments, where they were telling people they were getting syphilis treatment when they weren't, because they secretly wanted to see how untreated syphilis would affect, guess which population? Black Americans. This is exactly one of the methods in which they experimented on Black Americans was come get free treatment for your syphilis, and in some cases they were giving them placebos to see what untreated syphilis would do to a human body.
Well, what's the deal? What's the deal with the government against black people? Like, what the fuck do they have against them so much?
I think historically it's probably easier to marginalize already marginalized exploit already marginalized segments of society. They're more vulnerable. They're less informed. I mean, you try to do that to certain other demographics, they're like, no, and leave me alone. But when you're already promise certain things that they don't have, because from what I understood, they also promise healthcare to people who are not getting it. So you go to a marginalized segment of society who are vulnerable to begin with, and therefore easier to exploit.
History's gonna remember this shit. This is disgusting.
History's gonna remember this.
This is inhuman shit.
My wish is to live long enough where I can be a grandfather, talking to my kids about I did the best we could at the time, and talking to my grandkids as to you will never appreciate, and hopefully you will not, what happens when a society descends into absolute irrational panic, irrational madness.
So just so people know, Phil, just so I'm correct on this, so people are aware. So when this mass vaccination thing, they don't give placebo to anyone. So there's basically everyone gets the same treatment. So statistically, you're just basing yourself off, everyone got it. So we don't know exactly why someone's feeling this.
That's the argument. Now they're going to say, look, everyone's gotten it. So if people die of heart attacks, soccer players have always had heart issues. So it makes sense to me also to give it to everyone, because you're going in there because you're trying to protect yourself. Imagine if the vaccine could have protected you, but they gave you a placebo. No, you couldn't do that. That would be that would be
crazy, right?
It would be unlawful experimentation on humans, which is what they did historically. But
do that again.
Oh yeah, no. The government now has learned from the mistakes of the past.
Much better.
Yeah. By the way, the residential schooling system, when it was implemented for the good of the people.
Of course. What do you want? Commercial schools? You need residential schools.
No, you needed to, for the good of the indigenous, you needed to westernize the indigenous. It was for the good of the kids.
And that all ended well.
Trust the government now when they say, we're locking you in your homes for your own good.
No, I trust the natives. I don't trust the government.
And I sit there, but imagine, just the full circle, imagine you talk to a native who doesn't want to get vaccinated, and you have the absolute audacity to call him a racist, to call him an extremist. I was talking.
I say we get rid of mayors, bring back chiefs. Can we start this?
We could probably learn a lot from doing that.
Yeah.
But, no, but
give me a fucking elder of the city who knows the shitstorm. Let's go.
It's the politicians now they're just irremediably corrupt, and it's a I don't know what the solution is to the problem, but irremediably corrupt.
You think I should bring on? You said it and it sparked an idea. Maybe I should reach out to one of the leaders, the chiefs of one of these big reservations.
Come down to Ottawa
and bring him here
on Friday or Saturday, and you'll meet bring one of the truckers down. I mean, it's I was talking
the
to
truckers you can't bring down anymore now because they've been there for so long. Their ears are fucked up because they're honking. The podcast. What?
Do you know what's
I
amazing?
can't have that.
People don't appreciate this either. Like they think this is just for fun and games. These truckers are sleeping in their trucks in the cold. They run the engine so they can keep it warm. I stepped into like 5 or 6 trucks yesterday. They've got their dogs in it. They don't have they don't have bathrooms. There are no bathrooms, no porta potties out there. So
serious question.
Yeah.
What's the lot lizard situation like in Ottawa right now?
The lot lizard?
Yeah.
What on earth is that?
Let me brief you. So truckers, they go to truck stations, truck stops. They do all kind of trucking, stopping related activities such as resting, eating, going to the bathroom. At these truck stops, there are prostitutes known as lot lizards. They're ladies of the evening who are big fans of truckers. They're called lot lizards. They hang out on the lots and truckers pick them up. This is a real thing. I'm not making this up. This is a real fact.
There's a market for everything.
So what I'm thinking is, just like in the Grand Prix, when the Grand Prix Montreal, we get escorts hired from all across the globe that come here to exploit the situation of rich douchebags coming down here and wanting to show off. I'm thinking there was an influx of lot lizards in Ottawa.
I don't know if there's been an influx of prostitutes, but I know that there has been an
No, not just any prostitute. Lot lizards.
Well, hold on.
Fans of the truckers.
Because you missed my joke. That there was not an influx of prostitutes because there was an outflow of prostitutes, that being the parliamentarians who said, we're leaving and absconding from our duties.
Yeah, as soon as Trudeau fucked off, they're like...
The last prostitute of Parliament left.
Well, if that whore's leaving.
I did, by the way, it's an interesting thought. I thought for a second when you said lot lizard, I thought maybe it was like the way a lizard poops, and so maybe like when the trucks leave, they leave garbage behind.
No, they're legit called lot lizards. It's a very funny thing.
So I saw none of that, and I saw no garbage either. So going back to what I thought lot lizards
They clean up after themselves like the Japanese fans at soccer games.
They clean up. I don't know about that either.
They do. It's true.
I'm
spitting facts here. Yeah.
It is. You should have one of them come down. One of the elders, possibly. People need to be heard, and need to be heard and not demonized.
I want to bring First Nations people on because the more I learn about the conditions, the more infuriated I get. It's actually socially, like, jokes aside, it's fucking disgusting. Dude, how are we doing this?
There's a big
the
problem.
amount of fuckery we've put these people through. How are we still
under the law is called the Indian Act, so don't anyone try to cancel me. It's called the Indian Act. Natives can still not, or Aboriginals, Indigenous, whatever the politically correct term now is, because natives don't capture all. Anyhow, I believe the term is Indigenous now to group all. They're not allowed owning property on reserves. The reserves are reserves. They're set aside from the federal government, but individuals are not allowed owning property. So you can't borrow money, you can't buy a house, you can't own property. It goes through the band, which creates a lot. And I'm not an expert on this. This is just like the 30,000-foot overview. But you basically have an entire segment of the population which are being infantilized by this law that says you're not responsible enough to be even able to own your own property. It belongs to the band, and then they have their arrangements as to who gets to use what. But you can't own property.
That's basic human rights shit.
It's the Indian Act. It's unclear. Like, again, it's complicated politics because you say abolish.
It's complicated on purpose because this is some fucking disgusting shit.
The issue is abolish the Indian Act, and then the question is going to be what happens to the reserves. So then, are individuals going to be able to build up the reserves, or develop the reserves in a way that they were set aside to preserve? But the treatment.
Can we preserve them while also letting them expand and grow and develop?
Or allow them to be independent.
Why you said you can't abolish the act, right? Because then what happened? Why not?
No, he said you can't abolish the Indians.
Yeah, no, the Indian Act.
I mean, not for lack of trying. They definitely tried.
They tried, yeah.
But you can't abolish it. But you could reform it if your government was actually serious about making change.
Yes, but then this is where
Instead of having a raven tattoo on your arm.
Well,
does he have a raven now?
He's got
I thought it was like a feather.
No, whatever it is, it's an indigenous symbol on his on his, I think it's his left shoulder, where he got the jab. His photo op, if you want to vomit a little bit in your mouth first thing in the morning, he rolls up his sleeve, gets the shot through the tattoo. I had to look up whether or not that's even done because.
No, I wouldn't because they gotta go deep.
Well, no, because I don't know if you're supposed to put anything through an area that has tattooed ink in your body, but maybe after a certain period of time.
What about an area that previously had shoe polish?
Well, as far as I know, you're not supposed to take needles to the face either. But
because he may have went full body.
He's just. But by the
way,
everyone should go look at that picture and don't look at his tongue. Look at the guy's face right to his left, whose tongue is also sticking out in the direction of Trudeau's tongue. What the hell was going on in the context of that picture? Above and beyond the obvious.
Look, we can't talk about those sexy parties.
You might want to pull this picture up.
I'm trying.
Look at what you need, the fullest picture possible.
I mean,
there
Poseidon didn't show you how to use this, Phil. I'm very sorry, because you can actually put it up for the people.
This. Well, while we look for this picture, I'll explain what's happening. We all know the face of Trudeau with his tongue like with that. Look on the side. There's another guy sticking his tongue in the direction of Trudeau's mouth, and I want to know.
What you're saying is there's some sexy stuff going on.
What I'm saying is that a lot of that picture might be even more offensive for reasons that we do not. I mean,
to each his own. I don't mind.
See, the one on the top left is not going to be. Oh, there you go. Second picture down on the left, under Trudeau's. That one. Pull this up.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the vaccine picture.
No. This one.
Oh yeah, because
look at the tongue on the other guy's tongue.
Nah, it's just a goofy photo. It's just a goofy. You're overthinking this one.
Yeah, why is that trying to lick?
You're distracted. You're distracted by the overt racism.
I've got two philosophies in life. Keep your schmeckle in your pants and keep your tongue in your mouth, and you'll be fine in life.
That is true, though. Yeah, the schmeckle is a problem.
Yeah, no, that's another thing.
Actually, I didn't hear him doing any weird shit like that. I haven't heard him sleeping with anyone. I haven't heard about that kind of stuff.
I have no comment that would be anything other than spreading the feathers of rumors.
Yeah. No. Rumors are different, but I hate rumors. I hate the rumors because they discredits you even if you're correct. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, let's say, because he's not the guy's a douche. We know he's a douche, but let's critique things that he's actually guilty of.
Was he just letting a kid drop his ballot into the box? That I believe violates the Voting Act. I'm joking.
Well, he has no choice. He has to do that.
that kid voted 5 times.
Holy shit. So now what's next for you? What are you thinking? Because I still believe you should launch a legitimate podcast.
I can do it. We'll see. There's a thing. The funny thing is, I was at one point blamed for not being in Ottawa. Like people saying, "Viva's not in Ottawa. I've lost all faith in the guy." It's like, and then they compare me to Rebel Media, Infowars, and Timcast, and it's like
those are all three very different. That's hilarious.
I know, and I'm saying first of all, 2 of them are American, not exactly able to cross the border freely. But I'm glad that people look at what I do and think that there's an enterprise behind it, the size of Rebel, Timcast, and Infowars.
Yeah.
I'm one person, and I have a fear of getting bigger because I'm a control freak and quality control freak. So whether or not I venture to do a proper podcast stuff and build a studio, we'll see. There's things on the horizon.
I got a studio right here for you. Don't you worry.
I know, but I like working on my basement. Yeah. I feel safe there.
I don't blame you.
I'm tongue-in-cheek joke, but no. For the time being, I want to get back to Ottawa. I'm loving the live on the street because no one can accuse you of concealing anything. I love meeting people. I love hearing the actual stories from the people on the street. After that, I mean, we'll see how long this goes on for. This is the Ottawa convoy, the Freedom Convoy 2022. It is, I'm not exaggerating and I'm not being hyperbolic. It's a historical moment.
It is.
And it's snowballing, not just in Canada, it's snowballing throughout the world. And what you're seeing...
I saw Nigerian truckers, Italian truckers, Australian truckers so far.
And now there's rumors, I say rumors, but there's talk that American truckers are going to go from California to DC for March 1st.
I think the Israeli truckers are the anti-Semites, probably.
Those are the extremists. I have no idea. It's historical. We're seeing it in real time. We're going to see the governments start pulling back measures. The problem is now.
So do we not have precedent, right? Since all these developed countries are like, all right, this was a bad idea. They're pulling back. Is there no precedent for us to go to court and be like, hey, dickhead, look.
No, but but this is the issue. This is when ego becomes a driving factor. If there weren't a convoy, the government could pull back and say, okay, we're following suit. Now, if they do it, they're going to look like they've caved, succumbed, bowed to the pressure of the convoy.
So we have to suffer because of their egos.
They're going to blame it on the truckers. I was like, we can't negotiate with extremists. I'm convinced if the truckers weren't there, I don't know. Who knows? But now there's an ego element in here that François Legault can't just pull back his idiotic measures because it will be in his own egotistical, tyrannical mind. It'll be caving to the pressures of the people, and tyrants can't do that. Same thing with Justin Trudeau. So we'll see.
Yeah, because politicians in a democratic country should cave to the people.
Yeah, except that in their deluded minds, this is not the people. This is a fringe minority of extremists. They don't realize this is the people.
How many people voted for Trudeau this time out?
It was like 22% of the eligible population voted for Trudeau. It was a record low turnout. He even got record low votes. Assume 1 in 5 eligible voters voted for Trudeau, which is why it's a weak minority government to begin with. Next election, he's going to be out of politics forever. The only question is whether you want to get blackpilled. Go look up who of the Liberal government have positions on the World Economic Forum. And you're going to start, I believe Jagmeet was featured on the WEF. I know Chrystia Freelander is on the board of trustees of something. You can fact check
So there's
me.
no test to get into this club?
No, the price of entry is sin. I mean, that's to quote, what's his name? Arthur Brown. The Wild World of Arthur Brown. The song is called Fire. It's an old 70s song. I remember it from being a kid. The price of entry is sin. And these politicians are... They're rubbing elbows and they want to get into a club. The price of entry of getting into is sacrificing your own nation for what they call globalism, for the global interests of these stuff. The Great
Reset was supposed to be a conspiracy theory 2 years ago.
It's on there,
and now it's on the flyers and on their website. What the hell?
It was before. It's been on the website since I believe 2016, 2018, maybe even earlier. Again, fake news follows the exact same pattern every time. Deny.
As a news anchor, when you're saying this, isn't any one of them like, let me just Google this for a second? None of them.
No, because they know they can deny it for a certain period of time because people don't know. Then people say, same exact thing. It doesn't exist. It's a conspiracy theory. It was actually a verboten word on YouTube back in 2020.
Yeah, what the hell?
The Great Reset. Then people say, holy shit, don't tell me it doesn't exist. I see they have a flyer. It says the Great Reset. So then they say, well, that's not what it means. Then they got to spin and they got to say, if you attack that, you're a conspiracy, a globalist conspiracy theorist. They denied it. Then when they recognize it, they spin it. And now they just admit it and pretend that they always did, so that if you say you denied this ever existed 2 years ago, what are you saying? We're talking about it now. So you're the lunatic. It's gaslighting, but it's the exact same way they do it every time. They did it with the convoy. They did it with WEF, Great Reset. They did it with the COVID potentially originating from a lab in China. Same pattern every single time.
Yeah, I had a funny conversation about that. I go, fuck, nature did us a favor with Omicron, right? Because it's lighter, it'll spread fast.
Fingers crossed, apparently.
Apparently, but then it's like, oh no, you still got to get a third or fourth because it's not natural. It was so you need. Imagine? And I said, I saw natural. I thought you said if it's from a fucking lab, that's a conspiracy theory. Which is it? Which is it, dickhead?
It is the idea of. There's some great conspiracy theories out there about the idea. Now that it's been recognized in Israel that too many boosters might actually weaken your immune system.
Yeah, I had a guy on the French cast that had the stats and he's like, it weakens your immune system. And I go, I don't know why that's a shocking thing. Any adult that understands immunity, that's not surprising.
Imagine what would happen if massive
That's why you have to space out your kids' vaccines too, because you don't want to just rape their immune system. You got to give it time.
Well, no, but you imagine this. That wasn't the conspiracy theory part. That was actually that's now being recognized in science. The conspiracy theory part, what happens if you've already, permanently or potentially for long-term compromised people's immune systems? Oh. What happens then?
Now we're dependent on Big Pharma.
Now you're even more so.
All right. Well, look,
food for thought.
Big Pharma, I prefer Big Horse over Big Pharma if I have the choice. So Viva, I hope everyone follows your live streams. I share them. You're going back to Ottawa, so for sure they're going to get it from me. I'm going to share your stuff.
Tomorrow night's going to be a party. I want to be there at night because I get jealous when I see the other guy doing it is called Auto Walks. AOTT Auto Walks. ATTAWALKS. He's just doing a live stream going through.
I might drive in and out tomorrow night.
I'll
contact you if it is. It's just I'm thinking, where am I going to park? It's cold.
It's not that bad. You just park far away from Parliament. But no, apparently at nighttime, It's when you see people set off fireworks. Apparently, the party is at night because everyone who wants to support the protest that works during the day shows up after hours.
I'm going to be there documenting the lot lizard situation. Viva, thank you so much, dude.
Pantelis, thank you for having me.
We've built this prison cell 'cause we can't trust ourselves. Critically ashamed and all our faith. We'll make a murder say that this is the American dream. You're gonna have to fight if you wanna believe. Sing it all away. My social insecurities crawl under my skin. This whole system's advocated by sin. We're selling plastic dreams, try one for free.